Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club. My name is James Sims. I'm a Forbes contributor and a freelance journalist here in Tokyo. Before I do a very, very brief introduction of today's guest, if you have your phone, if you could just put it on like a manner mode or turn it off, that would be very helpful. Thank you. Anyway, as many of you know, if you've been in Japan for any length of time, that the ties between Japan and Thailand are very deep and actually very strong. And there have been a lot of, fair amount of, I think, turmoil, to say the least, over the last 5 or 10 years, including changes in government and also the floods in Thailand that affected not only the Thais themselves, but also Japanese businesses quite a bit. But I think the one constant among all that sort of fluctuation has been the very, very sort of strong ties between the two countries, both political and economic and even financial. And as you remember, Japan was actually the host of the, and was very aggressive in terms of helping Thailand during the Asian financial crisis. I remember covering that. That was almost 20 years ago here in Tokyo. And so today, our guest, the ambassador from the Kingdom of Thailand, Mr. Ambassador Sihasak Phuangketkeow. I hope I didn't butcher that too much. But anyway, he's going to be talking a bit about the current domestic situation in Thailand ahead of the elections, as well as some bilateral issues, including infrastructure issues. And I think he's going to touch a bit on infrastructure financing, including what's been in the news quite a bit, the Asian Infrastructure Development Bank, and also what role that Japan will be playing in that. And I think he's also going to touch on some other issues that we were discussing earlier. Anyway, so without any further ado, I would just like to say thank you again to the ambassador. I know he's been very busy. They have, I think the Thai Festival is going on in Yogi Park, I think through the weekend, which is a huge event. If you haven't been, it's always a lot of fun. And we had the Thai, amazing Thailand night, I think, here last night at the Press Club as well. So anyway, thank you, and without any further ado, the ambassador.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the kind introduction. Certainly pleasure for me to have this opportunity to meet with the distinguished members of the press and the members of the SCCT. In fact, I was just here yesterday on a different topic. I was here to announce the holding of the Thai Festival this weekend. So I'd like to invite all of you, if you have the time, please go to the Thai Festival. We have the opening ceremony tomorrow morning. But I do welcome the opportunity to come here and to talk about the relations between Thailand and Japan. It's a relationship, I believe, that is still going very strong. Our Prime Minister this year has been here twice. He came on his official visit end of February. Then he came for the UN meeting in Sendai on disaster risk reduction. And he'll be back here again in July for the Japan-Mekong Summit. So I think these exchange of visit at the high level does attest to the strength of the relationship. But of course, Mr. Sim talked about the domestic, what he called turmoil in Thailand, and where things are heading in Thailand. I think probably that is uppermost in your minds, especially for the Japanese business community. You know, I'm sure you want a stable political environment so that you can invest and do business in Thailand. Well, of course, it's difficult to justify what happened on May 22nd. In fact, after the event of May 22nd, I became acting foreign minister for a few months. I had to attend many international meetings and talk about the situation in Thailand. One of the most difficult meetings that I had to attend was the ASEAN-EU ministerial meeting. And in front of me, I had the Foreign Minister of Germany, I had the Foreign Secretary of the UK, I had all the leading foreign ministers from EU sitting on the other side. And I was sure that they would ask about, or they would raise what's happening in Thailand. So I raised my hand to volunteer to speak about the political situation in Thailand. And I told them very frankly that, there is probably no such thing as a benign military intervention. But you have to understand the situation in Thailand at that time. And I don't want to go back and talk about history, but we were in a deep crisis. We were in a state of paralysis. And things could not go on like that. We had the shutdown of Bangkok. I had to relocate myself from my foreign ministry headquarters as a permanent secretary, and we had to work outside from a hotel. So that was the situation. And that's why we had the event of May 22nd. So now is the time for us to move forward. And probably, you cannot undo what has been done. But I think this is an opportunity for Thailand to get things right. It's an opportunity for us to strengthen the foundation of our democracy. And I wanted to assure everyone that we are committed to democracy. I don't think you can go against the tides of history. But what kind of democracy do we want? Not a dysfunctional democracy by any means. We want a democracy that is truly representative, inclusive, a democracy that works, a democracy that is responsive to the aspiration of the people, a democracy, most of all, that is sustainable. So this is the challenge, the democratic challenge facing Thailand. And I want to assure you that we're working to get back to a sustainable democracy as soon as possible. You've heard about the roadmap to that we have in place. We're in the process of drafting a new constitution. It's being deliberated by the National Reform Council. We hope that this constitution would be ready by September, and then we go for elections. Elections could be early next year. But what is being discussed now is whether the new constitution should be submitted to a nationwide referendum. If that is the case, then perhaps we have to adjust the date for the elections a bit. But as I said, it's not about elections. We talk with so much about elections, and certainly, but elections is not the only solution to Thailand's problem. And here we have to ensure that we engage, that we reform what needs to be reformed. And most importantly, we have reconciliation in Thailand. And reconciliation is really the responsibility of politicians, because the problems that we face came because politicians could not get their act together. So what we need in the end is responsible politics and responsible politicians to make it all work. So that's what I'm hoping, as a diplomat, because I think there is so much going for Thailand in terms of our diplomatic role. We have so many friends who are rooting for us. And so I definitely want to see, strong, vibrant, and sustainable democracy in Thailand. And we're working towards that. I want to assure you that. But at the same time, we have to get our economy moving again, because before the crisis and during the crisis, we were at a standstill economically. The government budget was not spent at all, and so now is the time during this transitional period as we get back on the democratic path. We also have to put ourselves on a more solid footing economically. And there is so much that we have to do because Thailand is at a stage where we have to get ourselves out of what we call the middle income trap. And this is a time where we can do things. We can pass legislation that should have been passed a long, long time ago through Parliament. And so we're doing a lot of economic reforms as well. First, we're investing or revamping our infrastructure. We need to improve our roads. We need to improve our railways. We need to do more in terms of enhancing our economic competitiveness. We can no longer be a labor-intensive economy because we cannot compete with our neighbors if we continue being a labor-intensive economy. So we have to move towards more R&D. We have to move towards more advances in technology, and we have to promote innovation. Another important area of reform is human resource development. And this is what I hear often from investors, that Thailand still lack the needed skilled workers. So we have to improve our human resources. And here, of course, we look towards Japan to help us because Japan is one of the biggest investors, especially in the automobile industry. Japan has set up the Automotive Institute in Thailand to help train Thai workers. So we hope to see more of such a role from Japan because in the end, it benefits Japanese investors. And we also have to promote SMEs because SMEs are at the cutting edge of innovation. They are the drivers of economic growth. We're in the process of reforming our tax system. We've already brought down corporate income tax from 25% to 23%. I think we hope to bring it down even lower. And we also, I think for many Japanese would be interested because many of you have benefited from what we call the Board of Investment privileges. We have a new policy with investment privileges in Thailand, and these focus now on industries that relocate outside the main industrial areas, industries that promote innovation. So these industries will receive special privileges. But I think, to be very frank, one of the problems that we have to deal, whether it's politics or economic, is to weed out corruption. Corruption is a major impediment to our democracy. It's a major impediment to our economic growth. And this government is very serious in dealing with the problems, the scourge of corruption. So the outlook for the Thai economy now, I think, has brightened up. Next year, we expect growth of 4 to maybe 3.5%. So we hope to be back on the track of economic growth. Much of this is due to the fact that we've been able to spend the budget, the government budget that has not been spent during the crisis days. Second, we've seen the revival of our tourism industry, which has always been a major income earner in Thailand. We've also seen private sector investment increase because of the return of confidence in Thai politics. But of course, one problem that we still face is the stagnant exports. And this is not because of the problem in Thailand, it's because of the downturn or in the global market. Many of the major economies are still in the process of trying to sort out their difficulties. So this is where we are politically and economically. But let me spend a few minutes talking about where we're heading in terms of our foreign policy. Well, I think the best foreign policy must start with our neighbors. And previously, we've had some problems in relations with our neighbors, with Cambodia, and of course, we had the domestic problems in Myanmar. And so the priority of this government is to strengthen relations with our neighboring countries. Because if you don't have good relations with your neighbors, you cannot expect to play a big role regionally or internationally. And our concept in terms of our relations with our neighbors is we seek what we call common peace and prosperity with our neighbors. And so we have to, whatever problems that we face, like the border disputes, let's put them on the shelves. Let's turn the border from a border that divides to a border of common prosperity. And so this is our approach that we have taken. And we have set up special economic zones along the border. Our border with Cambodia, our border with Laos, our border with Myanmar, and our borders with Malaysia. And we hope to take advantage of the economic complementarity between Thailand and our neighbors. So many of the labor-intensive industries in Thailand will have to move to our neighboring countries. And Thailand has to concentrate on logistics. So that's why we're focusing so much attention on improvement of our infrastructure, as I mentioned earlier, roads and railways. In fact, in spite of our export being stagnant, what we find is that the border trade with our neighboring countries continues to grow by leaps and bounds. And these are the registered border trade. Some of them are not registered. So this has been, I think, a major stimulus of growth for Thailand. But of course, what we need to do most of all is to improve this, what we call, in ASEAN, we call connectivity. Connectivity is not only physical connectivity, but also the software connectivity, making sure that goods flows across border in a seamless way. We have introduced this concept of a single window, whereby custom inspections are only done on one side of the border rather than both sides of the border. So, the priority in terms of our foreign policy is with our neighbors. Our second priority, of course, is to contribute to this ASEAN community that's going to be launched by the end of the year. It's going to be an economic community, investment community, and a political community, political security community. So we have to enhance the process of economic integration that is taking place in ASEAN. And Japan, is in the position to play a major role as our major trading and economic partner. But I think what we need most of all right now, as Thailand seeks to promote our role in the region and also to strengthen ASEAN cohesiveness, is peace and stability in the region. And so what we like to see is stable relations among the major powers, United States, Japan, and China. And during this current period in Thailand, people have talked about Thailand playing the China card. So I want to assure you that we don't have any intention of playing any card at all. We want to be friends with all our major partners, Japan in particular. And we want to see Japan engage with Thailand, especially as we go through this transitional process. We want to be friends with the United States, EU, Russia, India. And so this is our policy as far as our engagement with the major powers are concerned. Now, with regard to Japan, as I mentioned, we want to see Japan playing a bigger role in terms of engagement with Thailand. This is a time to strengthen your engagement with Thailand. I think our economy will be moving forward. I hope that there'll be more Japanese investment in Thailand, and using Thailand as a base for investment in the Mekong sub-region. Because if you look at ASEAN integration, much of the opportunity that comes with ASEAN integration is going to open up in the Mekong sub-region. And Thailand can be your partner in the development of the Mekong region. The development of the Mekong, I think the Mekong region is the new frontier in terms of trade and investment is concerned. Thailand can be your partner. Thailand can be your platform to strengthen your economic engagement with the Mekong sub-region. And I think the concept here in Japan, among many Japanese corporations, that realize the economic complementarity between Thailand and our neighboring countries is Thailand plus one. And this is a strategy being employed by many Japanese companies, meaning that you invest in Thailand, you use Thailand as a platform to invest in the Mekong sub-region. And that's why this upcoming meeting in July in Tokyo is important, because Japan will be organizing the Mekong Japan Summit. And Thailand hopes to play a big role at the meeting, to be a bridge, so to speak, for Japanese to strengthen your economic presence in the Mekong sub-region for our mutual benefit, meaning the benefit of peace and prosperity in the region. But what we need most of all, and this is the last issue that I wanted to address, because many times I've been asked about the regional situation and where we're heading. I talk a lot about the dichotomy between the geoeconomics and the geopolitics of the region. The geoeconomic is moving towards more integration, not just within ASEAN, but in East Asia. And integration brings the benefits of peace and stability. But in terms of geopolitics, things have become more problematic. ASEAN centrality, I don't know whether you've heard that. You know, we have many ASEAN-initiated forum, ASEAN plus one, ASEAN plus three, ASEAN East Asia Cooperation, ARF. These are, the regional architecture. But this is being subject to stresses and strain because of the problematic relations among the major powers. In particular, the triangular relations between China, Japan, and United States. And we need a healthy relations among the three major powers in the region to maintain a stable environment in the region. Now, people talk so much about the China-US relations before, but I think they're in the process of sorting things out, trying to establish a modus vivendi. But what we're concerned about is the relations between China and Japan, because it's not about the present problems. There's also problems stemming from the past. So we hope that eventually China and Japan will be able to sort out where they're heading and a closer partnership, because this is so fundamental to peace and stability of the region. And another issue, I think, which is also perhaps a reflection of the change in the power structure of the region, and which is of direct concern to us when we talk about peace and stability of the region, because we need a stable environment, peaceful environment, is South China Sea. So much has been written about the disputes in the South China Sea these days. And at all the important ASEAN meetings that I've attended, this issue has been at the top of the agenda. And it so happens that Thailand is the country coordinator for ASEAN-China relations. In fact, I chaired the Asean-China senior officials meeting, and it's a problem that has sort of preoccupied the ASEAN-China relations over the past 2 or 3 years. We're in the process trying to sort things out. We know that, of course, Philippines and Vietnam, they have their disputes with China. But these disputes have been there for a long time. Let's not shelve the disputes, but seek ways of, handling these disputes in a peaceful manner, and not allow the disputes in the South China Sea to affect the overall relations between ASEAN and China. We're now working on what we call the Code of Conduct in the South China Sea, which means that the disputes won't go away, but let's exercise self-restraint. Let's not engage in actions that further complicate the situation on the ground. And this entails actions on the part of all parties, China and some of the ASEAN countries. And let's talk about cooperation. Let's talk about establishing hotlines to prevent unexpected encounters at sea, to prevent incidents. Let's talk about areas where we can engage in cooperative activities, search and rescue, protecting the environment. And let's talk about, if possible, joint development of certain areas, and rather than insisting on the issue of sovereignty. And so this is what our approach, and we've been making some progress on the Code of Conduct. But of course, the situation on the ground is still of concern, and there's been some recent incidents. And so we just hope that all sides would stick by this principle of self-restraint and try to peacefully resolve disputes. And I think the disputes are best resolved by the parties concerned directly, and those who are not parties concerned should try to provide a conducive environment for the peaceful resolution of these disputes. So these are some of the issues that I wanted to discuss with you today. I probably have not exhausted all the issues, but I try to address some of the key issues from my perspective, and I would welcome any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that sort of broad overview and even some, I think, fairly frank assessments. Anyway, we'd like to go to questions from the working press. If you could please just state your name and affiliation. And if we have time, we can obviously open it up to other members as well. So if there are any questions from the working press. If not, I have a couple questions, I guess, before that. During lunch, we were talking about infrastructure issues. And obviously, one of the big issues has been the AIIB. And in terms of what role that will play, there have been a lot of questions raised over the governance and also what sort of code of conduct that they will have when they're doing or planning the financing for investments, including environmental and I think also like indigenous peoples, et cetera. And I guess related to that is also Japan or Japanese companies are often seen as having a disadvantage when it comes to infrastructure projects such as those being exported by countries like China because of costs. And I was just wondering if you could talk a bit about that.
Well, let's start with the facts. I think the fact is that there's a huge demand for funding for infrastructure development in the region. one of the major impediments for economic growth, for economic integration in the region is the lack of adequate infrastructure, and that includes Thailand. So infrastructure provides opportunities for investment. In Thailand, I'm sorry I didn't mention this in my statement, we have quite a few major infrastructure projects that are being launched. First, we have the higher speed train and the dual track train system from a province we call Nong Khai in the northeast of Thailand, which borders Laos, to Bangkok. And then from Bangkok onwards to the eastern seaboard, which is our main industrial complex. Now this railway from in the northeast can connect with Laos and with Yunnan. The Chinese have agreed to participate in the development of this rail system from the northeast of Thailand to the eastern seaboard. Now the Chinese are also working with the government of Laos to develop the train system from Laos to Yunnan. So once this system is connected, it's part of what we call the North-South Economic Corridor. So it's going to promote a lot of trade and investment, linking the southern part of China with Southeast Asia. Japan is interested in the high-speed train Shinkansen from Chiang Mai, which is a major city in the north, the second largest city in province in Thailand, to Bangkok. They've done some feasibility study already. Japan is also interested in another rail system from our western province bordering Myanmar called Kanchanaburi to Bangkok and to the eastern seaboard. But this rail system is important because it's part of a broader infrastructure project, which is we call the Dawai Deep Sea Port. The Dawai Deep Sea Port is in the southeastern part of Myanmar. And this project involves Thailand, Myanmar, and Japan to develop a deep sea port in this place called Dawai in Myanmar. This deep sea port, as we envisage, will connect by road and rail with the eastern seaboard of Thailand. We have a deep sea port in Lam Chabang. And if we can improve the infrastructure, rail and road, from this deep sea port in Myanmar, Dawai, to our eastern seaboard, it will in effect become a land bridge linking the South China Sea, Pacific Ocean, with the Andaman Sea and the Indian Ocean and onwards. Significantly and strategically, this will provide an alternative route for shipping other than what we have now, which is the Malacca Straits, because the Malacca Straits is a very congested shipping route. So this project, which Japan has decided to participate, can be a game changer, has major strategic significance, and I hope that you would pay attention to this project because this project is going to come into being very soon, and Japan is very much involved in this project. So these are some of the major infrastructure projects in Thailand, just to indicate the kind of infrastructure needs in the region. Now, for the Asian Investment Development Bank, we support this bank, given the infrastructure needs of the region. ASEAN as a whole support this bank. I think the UK, France, and Germany has also come out to support the initiative of this bank. Japan and United States, I hope, will follow suit. Now, I know that there are concerns with the governance structure. We also want to see a strong and transparent governance structure as well. But the initiative, I think, is an initiative whose time has come, and doesn't in any way conflict with ADB, the World Bank. I think it complements what the ADB is doing. So this is how we see this Chinese initiative of the Asian Infrastructure Development Bank.
Now, just the other question about, I guess, the costs in terms of Japanese infrastructure development versus other countries such as China, because I mean that's always seen as a major disadvantage, for the Japanese.
Well, you have your advantages. I mean, in terms of your advanced technology, safety. So I think we have to balance it out. So Thailand has decided right now, insofar as the high-speed train from Chiang Mai to Bangkok and the train from the border with Myanmar to the Eastern Seaboard, we want the participation of Japan. And hopefully we can sign an MOU very soon at the end of this month so that we can begin the detailed negotiations. Our Minister of Transport expects to be here at the end of this month.
So I'm just curious, I mean, what, in terms of the project costs, I mean, those sound like incredibly large projects. I mean, those two rail lines, what are we talking about?
I don't have the exact figure, but they're huge projects, yes.
So any other questions, including from the press or other members of the club? No, please go ahead. Yes, please.
Ambassador, thank you. Thank you very much for the excellent presentation. And first of all, I should say I love Thailand very much and left on Sunday and spent a lot of time there, as I've been telling your colleagues. Just wanted to go back to the political situation again. You talked about May 2014, the last political instability. But if my counting is correct, that was the 19th incident. So I'd just like you to spend a bit more time talking about what we need, what we can expect in the future in that regard, because as I understand it, that was the 19th coup. And just my second question is on TPP. I was just wondering if you could comment on the TPP negotiations. 3 ASEAN countries are participating in TPP and Thailand is not. Do you expect that to create some economic disadvantages for you? I think it's Brunei, Vietnam, and Malaysia are participating.
Singapore as well.
Oh, and Singapore, of course. I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
The 4. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, 19th. I lost count already.
I'm older than
No, but, as a Thai, I think, we have to get it right this time, really. Because you mentioned 19 military intervention. But ultimately, it's the Thai people themselves must find a way forward. And I think we have to realize, and when I say we, the politicians in particular, Thailand cannot be left by the wayside. We have so much going for Thailand. We have a lot of goodwill in the international community. People like to come to Thailand. You like to come to Thailand, And our economy, fundamentally, is strong. We have a free society, irrespective of our politics. So I feel that the politicians themselves, the Constitution is important, but ultimately we need responsible politics, and we need responsible politicians. And I hope that this current transition period will get it right this time. And so I think what is important is that the majority doesn't, when you have the majority, it doesn't give you the right to do everything the way you want. But when you're in the minority, you cannot take things outside the parliament. So we have to have the reforms. At the same time, we need reconciliation among all the politicians. So that's my hope. And I think that's the aspiration of the Thai people, because we are committed to democracy. As I said, you can't go against the tides of history. But we have to work it out ourselves. I know that Japan is concerned. The United States sort of have curtailed the relationship. But ultimately, it's the Thai people that must find our path to a strong and vibrant democracy. Is that?
That's fine.
Okay. TPP. Well, TPP, you know, it's not that we are not interested, but the bar is quite high for us. And so right now, we follow what's the negotiations. But our main concern right now is to focus on the RCEP, you know, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. We think that's more realistic in terms of where economies of the region are right now. But TPP is not, RCEP is not against TPP. We see both as going in the direction of more free trade in the region. So maybe we're looking at it. We concentrate on RCEP, but later on, once things progress to a certain stage, perhaps we want to join. We're not ruling out joining the TPP. But TPP is also, you know, encountering some you know, obstacles as well. And there are quite a few sensitive issues on the table.
Please.
Khail Hassan, I'm Ambassador of Bahrain. I'm very impressed by your presentation. And we have a long history of relationship with Thailand. You know, after World War II, the West and United States, they really enjoyed maybe excellent period of democracy, which was very successful. At the same time, many countries like Japan, like Korea, like Singapore followed the model in one way or another. But we see after a lot of the advances in technology and globalization, you know, democracy starts suffering.
Mm-hmm.
It looks there is some challenge between globalization and democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my question, you spoke about dysfunctional democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, all of you know that the Congress has confidence less than 10% in US. For really, that's the best model for democracy. But there is a problem. My question related to Thailand and maybe other countries like Bahrain. We have maybe a model for us, a model like Singapore, which we are looking at. But my question is, how can you have really a functioning democracy in our region and the global world? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, Ambassador, first of all, please convey my regards to Abdullah, because we're close friends since we were in Geneva together. Well, that's why, you know, it's a difficult question. And you know, the United States wants Thailand to be more democratic. I think we're going in that direction. But democracy, for it to really work, it has to be something that the people themselves sort things out, really. I mean, if I say that there are various variations of democracy, people may contest that. But I think each country have to find its path towards democracy. I don't know whether I can say that there's no single model of democracy or not, but basically there has to be fundamental freedom. It's respect for human rights. But we need democracy that is also stable. How can you govern when you have a democracy that brings more instability? So that's something that each country has to work out. It may not be the perfect form of democracy. I don't know. I don't rule out anything for Thailand. But ultimately, it's the people themselves that have to sort things out and find the path. But whatever, you know, democracy is still, I think, the least imperfect form of government. But you know, at least I hope I'm not misquoted on this, but you know, it's still the aspiration of the Thai people, I'm sure. But we also need stability, because without stability, you cannot govern, you cannot have economic growth. So I don't have an answer for you, Ambassador. You've asked me a very complicated question, and I have to be diplomatic and skirt around that question.
Actually, just sort of a follow-up. I guess several years ago when I was writing columns at the Journal, and I think after I think it was the confrontations between the green and the red and yellow shirts, and then also with the flooding, the Japanese companies were very, I don't know, they just sort of took it into stride, like, we've been through this many times before, and they were fine to continue business and investment as long as the sort of the bureaucratic and the technical side was sort of stable. But have you sensed that there's been a change among Japanese companies that, it's getting to the point where this cycle just seems to be continuing over and over, and that the companies are trying to sort of reduce their exposure? And you had talked about the Thai Plus One. Do you sense that when in talking to Japanese companies here that the political risk is a bigger and bigger issue when in the past they just sort of took it in stride?
Well, I think Japanese companies who have invested in Thailand for a long time, they understand the kind of environment that they're operating in. When we had the political turmoil and the shutdown of Bangkok, I would say that a lot of it was reported by the outside press, and it's not accurately reflecting the situation because it was really concentrated in only a few areas. Right. Life went on as normal in most of Bangkok and in most part of Thailand. But having said that, it's not an excuse. We have to be more mindful that our politics before did not affect our economics. That probably might not be the case anymore, because in a globalized world where investment moves across border, capital flows across border, it'll flow to the place that is most secure. So we have to be mindful that we must, not allow our politics to affect our economy. And so this is the challenge that we face. We really have to get things right this time, because Thailand has benefited from the fact that people seem to have, our economy seems to have been isolated from our politics. Right. But I still believe strongly that fundamentally Thailand has a strong economy. We have many things going for Thailand. Just our geographical position alone as a platform for investment in our neighboring countries. But we cannot, sit on our laurels. We cannot take things for granted, and we do have to get it right this time.
So are there any other questions from journalists or other members? Oh, go ahead.
My name is Fukunaga, and the Samar from India. I would like to ask about a very current and a very important issue on Rohingya from Myanmar, refugees. I know that your country also have some policy and refugee policy, and I heard just now that your country will be organize some treatment conference in the end of this month. Mm-hmm. Would you kindly explain your country's attitude or policy about the Rohingya people?
Yes, the Rohingyas is a very serious problem. Let there be no doubt about it. It's serious because the involvement of human smugglers, human trafficking, and it's not just focusing in Thailand, it's a network involving many countries in the region. And that's why we believe that the only effective way to deal with the problems of Rohingyas, because we have to accept the fact that these people, in spite of the circumstances surrounding their departure, will not find any country to resettle them. There's no country offering resettlement. So how do we resolve this problem? We have to have there's no way without international engagement. engagement of all the regional countries. We have to deal with the humanitarian problem. We have to deal with the root causes of the problem. And so now I think because of what happened, I see this as an opportunity for us to really deal with this problem in a very forthright way, because all of us seem to have denied this problem, and we have to work together within the region to deal with the consequence and also the root cause. And we have to work together. There's no other way unless we work together, all the countries in the region, with the international community, international organization. Thank you.
Was that? Okay. Sorry. Did,
I'd like to follow.
oh, go ahead, please.
Ambassador, just on the economy, I mean, I tend to agree with you. Thailand has an incredibly, I think, a very strong economy. If you look at exports and imports as a percentage of GDP, it's something like 150%. Just wondering if you have any lessons to offer the Japanese in terms of opening up their economy. That would be my first question. And you talked about the middle income trap. What is Thailand's target in terms of per capita GDP? You're currently about $10,000, which is
I
very
think
good.
lower than that, in fact.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, of course, Malaysia per capita GDP is 20-something thousand, I think. Yes, I think so. 7,000. So we have to get beyond the range of, let's say, 10,000. But I think it's not just that alone. It's about making sure that, and it relates to Thai politics, that prosperity is spread out throughout the country, reducing the income gap disparity. Because even though you see Bangkok, it's a very thriving and modern city, but that's not the case in other places as well. So I think what we seek is also equitable growth. That's important, because you cannot just focus on the GDP and GDP per capita number alone. It's about equitability, which is also very important. So that's what I'm hoping. And we do need to be more competitive. There's a lot of complaints I admit, about human resource development. We have to focus more on education. We talk so much about education reform, and this government is really trying to move forward education reform, because people in Thailand, sometimes they attach importance to bachelor degree rather than being equipped with the needed skills. So we have to change the mindset of the Thai people as well, because everybody wants a degree. But perhaps vocational degree is even more important than a university degree. So I think these are the things that we have to do. I don't know whether we can set an exact number for what is the target, but I think we have to move in terms of competitiveness. We have to move in terms of ensuring more equity in our economic development.
Is that? Okay, cool.
Lessons for Japan?
All lessons. I don't want to give lessons, for Japan, but at least Thai rice is as good as Japanese rice, and so my only hope is that please, import more rice from Thailand, because we have 100 Thai restaurants in Tokyo and nearby areas, so they need Thai rice, more Thai rice. So I only have a small request.
Actually, I mean, the HR and sort of the education issue, when I was looking at these issues and also talking with Thai officials, but this was probably like 10, 15 years ago, and even with Japanese companies, I mean, it was an issue then.
Still an issue.
So, I mean, specifically, what is it? Is it just sort of fundamental, like reading and writing, or is it more?
No, the needed skills, skilled workers, vocational skills.
Vocational skills.
Yes.
Okay.
And
so, I mean, what is the? Okay, so obviously not everybody can go to college, or they can't go
But
study
that's
overseas.
the problem. Most people want to go to universities, and we have so many universities in Thailand. But I mean, that's not the kind of skills that we need. Let's say people go study arts, study political science, have an MBA, but sometimes we need skilled workers working in our manufacturing plant. Maybe not engineers, but It's a problem of mindset and also more investment in our education. But I just found out that there are 30 Japanese universities which have opened up branches in Thailand. So education is probably in great demand in Thailand.
Well, very good. If there are no other questions, I think I'll just probably wrap it up unless any final questions or anything. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you very much. I think you got a fair number of difficult questions.
Well, I was spokesperson of our foreign ministry before, so
okay.
I know how to, to duck.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, some of your, I think, assessments were fairly frank. And so I greatly appreciate you taking time, again, to come speak to the club today. And is our usual custom, we usually give speakers honorary membership, but I think you already have an honorary membership. So instead of that, we'd like to give you a bottle of wine in lieu of an honorary membership.
Can I keep it at the bar here so I can come back more often?
Yes, you can if you want. Anyway, so I would like to give that to you. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's very good.